Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Secretary, so many topics to cover. I represent California's 31st District located in Southern California, where you've deployed the National Guard and Marine Combat Battalion in an effort by this administration to provoke a confrontation. God only knows for what reason. As my colleague from Tennessee mentioned, the military has been activated before by the president, but let's tell the whole story.
Today's hearing featured a fiery line of questioning from Congressman Cisneros of California, who directly challenged the Secretary on issues ranging from military deployment to budget priorities. If you find this type of in-depth breakdown helpful, make sure to subscribe for more coverage of Congress and national security debates.
President Johnson federalized the troops after the governor of Alabama activated them to keep black students out of the University of Alabama. President Johnson did it so the students could attend the university. He did it for the right reason. He corrected a wrong. California did not ask the president for help, and the presence of the military is an effort by this administration to intimidate and incite fear and violence amongst its citizens. You failed at ensuring basic operational security by sharing classified data over an unclassified network. This was blatant, lazy, and put service members' lives at risk. And knowing that your office is a SCIF, I hope you are not bringing in your devices, your personal cell phone, or even your work phone, because that's not supposed to be in there either, right, your cell phone, into your office to send these signal chat texts. Your blatant lack of basic OPSEC would have gotten you forced you to resign from any other administration. You're requiring 8% cuts across all services, not to save the taxpayers money, but to fund President Trump's pet projects. You talk about quality of life for our service members, but yet you take $1 billion away from the Army that was meant to improve their barracks and their living. You said that money waste, but we don't know that yet because we haven't seen a budget. If the president has projects he wants funding for, you need to come before this body and provide reasoning, not just shift money around. Right now, you are stealing from our service members, robbing Peter to pay Paul. Now you have repeatedly said that you will judge every individual on their merit. Is that true?
Unlike the previous administration,
You will
yes,
judge
we are focusing
simple yes
on,
or no.
for our service
judge
members,
everybody
how
on their
good they
merit.
are at their job, yes.
But yet you are separating thousands of service members who are performing and doing their job at a high level. They are being separated not based on merit. You know, some of them have been recommended for early promotion and have gotten awards and are doing a great job. But you are separating for no other reason, and frankly, I think you just don't like them. And you are classifying many of them as a national security threat, which is simply not true. You asked the Secretary of the Navy to change the name of the ship, because Harvey Milk didn't meet your definition of warrior ethos. If a Korean War veteran and a Navy diver who gave his life for standing up for his beliefs doesn't meet your definition, I don't know what will. You keep talking about recruiting. But let's face the facts here, right? Recruiting started improving before President Trump even came into office. And the reason that changed was because of the investment that was put into recruiting. Now, I was at the Pentagon at the time, and I know how much we invested in it, and I know how much of the services. And when you take away that investment, you're going to get exactly what happened in President Trump's first administration. In 2019, we had the same recruiting crisis that, back in 2019 when he was president the first time. You continue to attack diversity, but I have always said diversity is about creating opportunity, and I have seen plenty of individuals, many of them enlisted members, who when given the opportunity have succeeded, not because of their sex, not because of color, not because of their sexual identity, but because of their worth ethic and merit. Mr. Secretary, when using your definition of DEI, I think there's only one individual at the Pentagon right now who got his job based on that merit, and that is you, and you got it because of sucking up your boss. And with that, I yield back.
Cisneros began by criticizing the administration for deploying the National Guard and Marine Combat Battalion in his Southern California district. He argued the move was not about protecting citizens but about provoking confrontation. He contrasted this with President Johnson's use of federal troops during the Civil Rights era, when the military was sent to enforce desegregation at the University of Alabama. Cisneros said the difference was clear. One was to correct a wrong, while today's deployment, in his words, was intimidation. Stay tuned and don't forget to subscribe for more analysis of how lawmakers are framing history in today's debates. The congressman then pivoted to security failures, accusing the Secretary of mishandling classified information by using unsecure networks. He warned that any other administration would have forced a resignation for such lapses. He also raised questions about the use of personal or work phones in secure facilities, calling the behavior a blatant lack of operational security. These remarks tie into broader concerns in Washington about cybersecurity and leadership accountability. For continued updates on these national defense challenges, subscribe to this channel so you don't miss the next report. On budget matters, Cisneros accused the Secretary of imposing 8% cuts across the services, not to save taxpayer money, but to fund what he called President Trump's pet projects. He argued that money was being taken away from quality-of-life programs for service members, including housing and barracks, and diverted without congressional approval. He described this as robbing service members of what they were promised. These arguments highlight the ongoing battle in Congress over how defense dollars are allocated. To keep following these high-stakes funding debates, make sure you are subscribed. The questioning also touched on personnel policies. Cisneros challenged the Secretary's claim that service members are judged by merit. He said thousands of individuals who were performing at high levels, even earning awards and early promotions, were being forced out, not because of performance but because of bias. He accused the Secretary of labeling them as national security threats without justification. These remarks reflect a deep partisan divide over who gets to serve and under what conditions. For more deep dives into the politics of military recruitment and retention, don't forget to subscribe. The congressman also criticized the Secretary for ordering a Navy ship to be renamed, questioning how a decorated Korean War veteran like Harvey Milk did not meet the definition of warrior ethos. Cisneros argued this decision showed misplaced priorities and a misunderstanding of service and sacrifice. This debate reflects the broader cultural battles now shaping military policy. If you want thoughtful analysis of how history and identity intersect with defense policy, subscribing here will ensure you stay informed. Finally, Cisneros accused the Secretary of undermining recruiting efforts and diversity programs. He said recruiting improvements predated Trump's presidency and were tied to investments that have since been cut. He argued diversity is about opportunity, and that many who were once overlooked have thrived when given the chance. He ended sharply by suggesting that the only reason the Secretary held his position was loyalty to the president rather than merit. These remarks cut to the core of debates over fairness, leadership, and representation in America's armed forces. Subscribe now to stay updated.